who came before me, who really paved the way.
Pioneers.
Pioneers, yeah. And I can't imagine what they went through, hearing their stories. And so, things like the overt sexual harassment, we don't see that as much anymore.
Right.
Hopefully we don't see it at all, but so we've seen advancement. For me to have the amount of success that I've had and the amount of sponsorship that I've had, I know that there's change. I've had a lot of men and women who have helped me along the way, seen my talent and said, let's really help her, let's figure out what she needs. So that's been really positive. I would say though that it's still very challenging, and where organizations like Crew Network really help or shine is they offer they offer leadership development. They offer a safe place to discover yourself, and to talk a little bit more about that, just the abilities that you have within yourself that you don't necessarily know that you have. And you have to be able to express yourself. And I know through the Crew Network environment, I have been seen as a leader for all of my talents and looked to for who I am and what I bring to the table. There's never like an issue of, oh, well, do you think she's qualified? Or do you think she's ready for it? Because, maybe none of that, right? So it's a really great platform, especially for women, but we're trying to encourage the full network of that because we don't do it alone. I will tell you though, just, it's tiring. I like when you're the only woman in the room, this is the part that stinks, is you don't want to be the only voice. You do feel like you have to speak up because you do have maybe something to say, and yet you're going to get
interrupted. Julie.
You're going to get interrupted maybe, and then you might get, and then you're going to get tired. There's some days when I'm just tired. I don't want to do that. I just want to participate like everybody else. But when you only have one woman in the room or one voice, or a minority, it's hard. So I think places like Crew actually are very, very important, or organizations, to help with that, I don't know, kind of a power source, this.
But you're on that level when you come in the room. That's not even an equation. So you can just be yourself, and you're empowered to be.
And then when I go back out into the real world, or whatever, when I go back into these rooms when I'm the only woman or something, I can at least be like, yeah, I got this. I know what I'm doing, and I'm just as qualified as anybody else to be in this room. But it's interesting, Chris. I want to share something with you. There's this man. He's an author. His name's David Houle. And he's a futurist. We actually had him at one of the Crew Network conventions a few years back. But so take what you want from that, but he's a futurist. But he wrote this book called The Shift Age. And he has a chapter in The Shift Age that's called The Ascendancy of Women. And he talks about this period of time between 1975 and 2025, so a 50-year span that we're in right now, where we will see the most change in all millennia that we've ever seen of women's advancement and equality. And I think why, all #MeToo, all of this this angst, political stuff, that has not been positive for women, in business, is coming to a head. And and he predicts, that in this 50-year span, we will hit that tipping point. And we will succeed. I mean, we're not going backwards, but it's going to be rough, and it's going to feel really hard.
It's going to be a little messy along the way.
I know. And when I read that chapter, I just thought, oh man, this guy's got it figured out. But I was born in 1975, and I'm 42 years old, and my whole life has been living this. And I feel like I'm witness to that chapter in his book.
That's so interesting.
One thing I would tell you is your entire leadership team needs to be on board and in line, shared vision here. But you want to make real change, you need to start from the top. And the way you do that, you make a public commitment to diversity and inclusion. You put it in writing, and you keep it top of mind. You're going to keep it top of mind in your strategic plan, your business plans, job descriptions, hiring, your executive board meeting agendas. I mean, it's got to come up every time, and you need to be able, as a leader, to hold yourself accountable and hold others, others on your leadership team. You got to adopt some strategies and specific measurable goals. Reward your managers or reward people in your organization when they're getting the goals right, when they've exceeded the expectations, maybe in, performance or, encourage, something along those lines. Another big one is you gotta have skin in the game. And you're doing that, like at least what I know through Crew and getting involved there, with your organization, but make sure your firm's D&I strategy is well funded. I mean, it's got to be sponsored by a top executive. It's got to come from you guys, and own your influence. I mean, Chris, you're a fantastic advocate and you're a great spokesperson. Own that, and set the tone for the company culture. Just know all of your employees are watching very closely, and it's ongoing. And so, even when you think you may not be doing something, just by saying the right thing or using the right term might just turn the corner for somebody. I remember when I started in the business, Mike Lawson, our CEO, when I was getting hired, he said, when he described the company trip, top producer and their significant other were eligible to go on the trip. And when he said that, just using that language, it was like, oh, I like this man. He speaks my language. I'm gonna find an inclusive culture here that I can succeed. I mean, so you never know where it comes up.
Get it.
The other one would be personally sponsoring or mentoring women in your company. Really thinking about so sponsorship. This is the funny thing. When we've asked, women will typically say, "Well, I need to get a sponsor. I need to get a mentor. Well, how do I do that?" Well, you don't just go get one. A sponsorship is a relationship that forms between two people, right? And why women have actually lacked sponsorship as the number one barrier to success in the commercial real estate industry. They just don't have that support. They don't have that relationship. So what ends up happening is they don't have somebody advocating for them when they're not in the room. Somebody thinking for them like, hey, you should really be thinking about this promotion, or, Alison, you should really get your act together. You could sharpen up your skills here, or that presentation didn't go as well as it should have. How about thinking about this? That's real sponsorship, right?
Yes.
It's alive and well. I think where I get discouraged sometimes is, I'm working my butt off, on these deals, and just want to be seen as a professional and seen as an equal. And I've made a lot of strides, and I'm a leader on most of my accounts. And the clients that love me and stick with me, they completely they recognize my talent. But then there's those other occasions where, like, I was on the phone with a developer the other day, and he said, "Okay, kiddo," and "Okay, little lady." And I was like, oh, I don't want to fight the fight, I mean,
you feel tired?
I'm tired, or
that.
that kind of stuff. Or just seeing, men continue to, like, I think I found out months later that I wasn't invited to a golf trip. And I was like, oh, gee, that just kind of hurt my feelings. Like, what do they actually think of me? That I don't matter? That what I'm doing is really not as important as the men, my male colleagues? And that's just disappointing. So, but you've known me a long time. I'm a very optimistic person. I never let that stuff stand in the way. And I turn it into how can we be better, and how. So I don't let that stuff get me down. But I'm being honest. Human
I think
here.
I think that's
tough.
what's so insightful is that people don't. This is a big deal, and it's hard enough to come to work every day for all of us.
Yeah.
And to be able to recognize, even in a position like yours, you're instigating change, you're talking to me about all of these wonderful things and the timing, that to recognize that you're not alone if you feel this way, that these things are still happening.
Yeah.
You gotta, and you just, I guess, push forward.
Yeah.
It seems to me that there's a lot of momentum right now, and that's a wonderful thing.
There's a lot of momentum, and there's a lot of companies just like yourself, a lot of leaders who are saying, what do I need to do? I can't throw money at this. I need to be involved. I need to be invested. I can't put a label on. I can't just say we're doing it and put, a mantra on the wall and hope that everybody sees our culture and our values, and that's going to change it. So that makes me feel very optimistic. I'll counsel a lot of women that if you are not happy and your organization is not giving you what you need, walk. Go find another opportunity, because there's a lot of them out there, and your value should be, you know, just as valued as anybody else's, and there's a lot of opportunity for that. So that's what leaves me optimistic.
That's interesting. I was part of I actually do Twitter now.
Okay,
And I was part of a Twitter.
Oh yes.
Yeah, everybody, you weren't available, but
yes.
it was really fun.
Tell
you know, so
me
it was this
about
Twitter
that.
conversation, industry professionals from around the country talking about this
Yeah.
you know, women in commercial real
Yeah.
estate, and how do we, you know, help that? How do we be part of this change? And I guess one of the things that I said was, it seems like there's never been a better opportunity right now as a woman to go out and put yourself out there. So this comes to the 30%. Don't worry if there's 3 of the questions. I mean, get out there, because there may be real opportunities with forward-thinking companies that are having this very discussion, that this is going to set you apart.
That's right.
And so jump in and get after it.
That's right.
Because there is a catcher's mitt, and that we all appreciate a catcher's mitt when there
That's
is.
right.
But it does seem, do you agree
That's
with
right.
that?
That's right. Well, and I was thinking about, so a very good friend of mine, Barbie Reuter, she's the CEO of Cushman Wakefield Picor. So she's a pioneer. I mean, she's been fighting the fight kind of thing, as she would say, but she's fantastic. She's such a great advocate for me. She invited me to this opportunity to speak in front of all these market leaders. And I would not have had that opportunity probably on my own. She exposed me to it, right? So she's always thinking ahead. But she told me, she goes, Alison, one thing you got to know, even if you're having success and you're feeling good and whatever, you got to advocate for yourself. You've got to figure out, you know, you always have to stay top of mind, get out there, take that risk. And, you know, if you have something to say, you need to get in front of those people to say it. And it was just good advice from a good friend, you know, as you explore new opportunities. And you can't just sit there and expect that it's going to happen for you.
Boy.
But with good support, the right sponsorship, people, you know, that you can trust, being able to talk, you know, if your female employees feel very comfortable coming to you and saying, hey, you know, I want to explore this, or I'm thinking this, boy, you've just won. I mean, you've got a home run there, because you have their trust. And that's what we all just want to do the best we can. We want to be recognized for our skill and our talent, right?